Hey guys, we are live after the Tour de France stage just finished, stage two. I'm going to recap it, or actually, I'm not going to recap it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on what happened. And yeah, I saw a lot of interesting stuff. On a personal note, I have done this stage. It is really hard, or at least done the final. It is tight in the end. Those hills are quite hard. They're super steep, short, and explosive, and the pressure with the explosive finish, the big peloton, the small roads. It's a pressure cooker end of a stage. In the peloton, it just feels like it's just weighs heavy on you. The first part of the stage is not super hard, so the speed just ramps up, ramps up, ramps up. Usually there's some crosswind going into it, and then yeah, you're on all those small roads, left, right, and the final is a bunch of small explosive climbs. So big story for me was that we saw a aggressive Visma and we saw quite a defensive Pogačar and UAE. And yeah, I think looking on paper, knowing what we've seen in the racing with Pogačar and UAE on these types of courses, it was logical to expect that he was going to be aggressive, take time, throw some attacks, blow the race apart, something like that. He totally could have, based on his form in the Dauphiné. Maybe he would have brought Jonas along for the ride or not. Who knows? But you would have thought, if you were watching the last years of Pogačar, that that's what he would have done. And instead, he did just the opposite. He rode conservatively and he rode extremely relaxed. I thought that watching from the couch, watching from the TV, it was like he was on a Sunday ride. I mean, it is Sunday and he's on a ride, but he just seems so chilled out in the group. To me, it just seemed like, again, he's just so comfortable. And having done that stage, it is not easy. It is not relaxing. It is so stressful. Those crowds are so loud. They're so intense. And if you look at the body language of the Visma riders, that like Wout, Jorgensen, they were sprinting. Tadej Benut, they were sprinting up these short climbs, just full sprint. These are good riders. This is huge numbers. I mean, we're talking they're doing over 700, 800 watts on these climbs. It's a short period of time, but they are just absolutely nuking it. And if you look 3 spots back, you would have seen Pogačar back there. And it's like, wow, he's just relaxed. He seems comfortable. He seems like he feels good. He's not panicking where his team is. A couple times Narvaez was behind him. Wellens did some work on the front, then he got dropped, and there were some things happening in the front, some shuffling, and you could see that Pogačar would just casually ride up to the front. He wasn't really looking behind and panicking and saying, "Where's my team? What's going on?" I don't know if they were talking to him on the radio and letting him know, but it just seemed like Visma was throwing everything at him and at the race. At one point, there were 6 riders left, mostly GC riders and Van der Poel, and he was there just totally relaxed, without any stress, without any concern. I personally think that he's in a very good spot. So the passive kind of defensive Pogačar. On the flip side, we saw a very aggressive Visma, and I think we can talk about that right now. They were sprinting up every climb. They were attacking. Jonas himself even threw kind of a strange attack on a transitional spot between 2 climbs, kind of over a roller into a downhill. Both Pogačar and Remco were right on his wheel. It wasn't really like an attack where he caught him off guard or something like that. They were right there. So it's kind of like, it's almost borderline television attack where, the TV camera is right there and there he is. But I thought that attack is worth talking about, and the way that Visma and Jonas rode is worth talking about. Now, you could say they rode this way to be aggressive, and to be aggressive in the sense so they didn't get caught out. If they didn't ride this hard, it's possible that Albison would have rode easier to try and keep the yellow jersey with Philipsen. So maybe they were trying to make sure that the group was smaller, and I mean logically that's what they're doing. Does it look like it's like they're putting pressure on Pogačar and they're putting pressure on the other GC rivals? It looks that way, but I don't think that's what's happening at all. I think it was sort of an offensive move to protect themselves and be defensive. But if you're looking at this from a coaching standpoint or from a performance standpoint, it does seem like it was expensive. We know the time trial is coming in 3 more days, two days between now and then. So could this energy come and catch him before the time trial? Could it catch him in the time trial? Could it catch him after the time trial on one of these other stages? I think that's a question worth looking at and asking and saying, was it worth it? And maybe it was. Maybe he's gonna ride in an amazing time trial. Maybe the time trial doesn't even matter anyway. The two of them will be close regardless if one finishes in front of the other. It's not going to change anything. The mountains are huge. So who knows? The other side of it too is when you are making the race so hard, and I think this is an important point to hit home, and I want you guys to hear this. If you're making the race this hard and Tadej is a crazy guy and Tadej could potentially just unleash, it's like you're doing the job for him. And I thought the moment when Jonas attacked, I believe it was 5K to go or something, and it was over the top of a roller, but Remco brought Jonas back with Tadej on the wheel. This could have been a great moment for Tadej to counterattack and go bye-bye. I think he could have, but he didn't. He kept his powder dry. He followed the wheel, didn't say anything, didn't ride up alongside of him, didn't come through and do a big pull. And guys, you have to also think of the context too. If you're one of these GC riders and there's 6 of you, or in this case, there's 3 of you, and all those like other people that you don't want to deal with, like Vanderpoel wasn't there. You want to run scared. You want to get in that break with your GC homies when it's Jonas, Remco, and Tadej. You want to work with those people and get away from all that riffraff. And so you have that quiet, and it probably would have been an easy stage win for Tadej if after Jonas went, it split, if he just went to the front, drilled that gap out open. And so I think, again, you got to look at this moment and you got to say, okay, why did he do that? And if you watched him visually, the body language, the cadence, the positioning, and then the finishing effort, it looks like he's very good and he's saving energy. That's baller. That's baller. And I think we're seeing a more mature, a new level of Tadej entering this Grand Tour. It looks like a absolute serial killer in there. This guy is out for the kill. He's not messing around. So watch out. That's all I gotta say. I think you should take note with those things. And then at the flip side, you got to also take note on the Visma stuff and say, in years past, they've been very passive and defensive in the first part of the race with the quote, the mountains are coming. Jonas is really good in the mountains. Like that was kind of the storyline. And so now here we are in the Tadej territory, the short climbs, the craziness, the explosiveness, and you have Jonas and Visma being very aggressive, and not saving any energy. So who knows what exactly the logic was on that, but I think it's worth talking about and looking at the two things that happened, and then also looking at kind of the kill shots that were available for Tadej to take, and he didn't take them. So are we going to look back at those kill shots and say, yeah, you should have countered Jonas when you had that moment? You could have maybe got 30 seconds or 20 seconds on him right away. Stage 2, kill shot, yellow jersey, 20 seconds plus the time bonus. But I think he's cooking something else. I think something's cooking. So I think that's worth talking about. Let's talk about Matthew van der Poel. Amazing performance, and we saw him so good in the classics, and I think it's really cool to see him in the Tour de France riding at the same level, if not better. These are harder climbs. The peloton's deeper. You're dealing with not just the GC riders like he did in the classics, not just Tadej kind of on his own. You're dealing with other GC riders and their teams as well. So, when he makes that selection of 6 riders in the Tour de France with top GC rider form, and he's in that top 6, wow, he's on a really good level. And so cool to see him up there doing that. He raced really smart too. He didn't really go all into that original 6-man break. He rode really conservatively. If you're a competitive rider and you do group rides or you do races, take note of these riders. They're not doing these super poles and selling out and things like that along the race. They are being very conservative, especially when these splits happen, knowing that there could be other attacks coming from the other riders, or knowing that they're saving it and going all in on the finish line. So I thought he raced a really good performance, a really good strategy. I think also they were thinking that perhaps Jasper could keep the yellow jersey. He was close, and in the end, he was real close. And so it was possible, but cool to see Van der Poel take the win and take the yellow jersey. One interesting thing that he did in the end was he really raced for position, and I think that's how he was able to beat Tadej. He did some work on the front before that last corner. He made sure that he was first into that corner, and carrying that momentum, carrying that speed out of that turn, he was able to start his sprint a little bit before, and in a way where Tadej, even though he was in the draft because of the corner, because of the pace changes and the tightness of the course, he didn't really have the Tadej didn't really have the opportunity and enough ground to use that draft as a slingshot and come around him. So he pretty much had to match Van der Poel's sprint, watts for watt, sprint for acceleration by acceleration. We know it typically Van der Poel has a better sprint, is more explosive. But I do think there's a piece of me a little bit that believes that Tadej had the legs to go much earlier on the climb. In fact, probably go in the same spot that Van der Poel went before the turn. He could have gone long. I think he could have taken the win. And so I think, again, sniper serial killer Tadej basically just sat there, and it was like, if I see that black and yellow jersey come even close to me, I'm pulling the trigger. But if it's not there, I want my friend, and it does seem like they're quite friendly, Van der Poel and Tadej. I want him to win and have the yellow jersey. And I think probably also Tadej was thinking about that too. But who knows? It looked like he sprinted really hard in the end, so maybe he just played it conservatively. Maybe he thought he could come around in the end. Who knows? I know there's a lot of speculation, the 100th win, how he wants it to happen. We know about time trial gate in the Dauphiné. Is it possible that Tadej comes in and says, like, look at me, I'm sick in the time trial, I beat Remco, I took the win, I got my 100th win, and I got my yellow jersey? Like, is that going on? I don't know. You got to ask a question. We're asking questions here. We're just having fun. Could that be something that's in his mind? Is he that good? We'll see. But I do think if he went sooner on that climb, he probably could have won the stage. And maybe it was a miscalculation. Maybe he was riding defensive and trying to minimize any risk by putting himself out there too early, and his buddy on Visma pipping him at the line. I don't know. But interesting. Cool to see Van der Poel win the stage. I thought that was amazing. What do we see moving forward from Visma? What do we see moving forward from UAE in these next stages? It kind of seems like the same theme will continue, perhaps Visma will continue to be aggressive and really work these first stages. They have a great classics type team. They have a better team, I would say, than UAE in these stages. And so, yeah, maybe they're looking to isolate Pogačar and capitalize on maybe a mistake happens, a crash happens, a flat tire happens, something like that, and they're able to snipe some time on him. Who knows? Maybe they'll look at today and they'll say, hey, we expected Pogačar to be aggressive. He wasn't. Maybe we'll be more conservative. But again, I think Tadej is constantly one step ahead of everyone. And so maybe if they change their strategy, he will immediately have anticipated that and change his strategy. So we'll see. But I think that's something interesting to talk about. Now, next up, Remco. We know Remco is racing for third, essentially, which could ultimately land him second place if somebody goes down fighting for the win. I think that's a good strategy for him too. I don't think he needs to try and go head to head with these two ballers in the front. So I think everything he's doing is good. Yeah, bummer he missed a split yesterday. I don't think he's comfortable in the peloton. Today he did a much better job in the peloton. It was kind of if you were on social media, I was on social media during the tour. It was funny that when Wout went to the front, blew it apart. Remco was pretty far back, and everyone on social media was like, Remco's an idiot. There he is again. He's too far back. This is a problem. These guys suck. Remco sucks. Like, everyone was like, it's all over. And then almost that moment, like the whole Quick-Step team, Soudal or whatever they are, were in the front. Remco's in the front. And then he was pretty much in the front from that point all the way to the finish. At the finish, he drifted a little bit back. But yeah, he was there. And then when Jonas attacked, he was the guy that chased Jonas down. He with Tadej on the wheel. So he did a good job. I think he looked good, man. And I look at the photos when I go on social media and I look at the Remco photos. Dude's shredded. He's so ripped. Looks so fit. Looks good. So bummer he lost the time yesterday. I think he probably has a good shot at that win in that time trial and taking the yellow jersey. Now, probably not the yellow jersey, but still has a good shot at the win, especially with Ghana out of the race. The X factor, of course, is you got the Pogačar and the Jonas. What's going to happen with them? But he looks good. I think he rode awesome, and maybe they stepped it up, whatever, but I know this stage is horrible. It is sketchy. There's huge crashes at tiny roads. It's so nervous, so stressful. If I was him, or I was him, I was in that situation, I did not want to ride in the front. But if you're not in the front, you get crashed out, you miss a split. You got to play that game. So Remco looking good. Really don't have anything negative to say about him. I think he looks awesome. I hope he continues moving up. And I hope he's a contender for the podium, which I think he will be. Almeida entered the chat. That's the next thing I'd like to talk about. Also, at the same time, social media was kind of like, this guy doesn't even show up in these finishes. And then he wasn't there. There was a small group. Almeida definitely was not there. You could see Narvaez bridge across. He did some pulls for Tadej, did some pacing on the climb. He obviously was pinned. That also shows you how fast these riders were going up these explosive climbs, because we know Narvaez is an insane explosive climber, one of the best. And you could see that, like, when he was on the front, Tadej and Jonas were almost like, is this how slow we're going? You could tell they were just like, this is too slow. And so level of those riders is incredible. Huge watts, probably over 700, 800 on those climbs, just crazy power, ripping up them like motorcycles. And I think UAE kind of saved the day when Almeida just showed up out of anywhere. And the funny thing was, Jorgensen basically countered the Jonas attack, and he covered the Arkea or whatever rider, went up the road, and Almeida just shows up out of nowhere. You see this like white jersey in the background. You're like, who is that? Is that a UAE guy? It's Almeida. And again, the same time where everyone is just like, this guy, we're not going to see him until the mountains. He does not do these fighting finishes and this stuff. And they're probably not wrong on that, but I do think it was funny. He showed up and he chased Jorgensen down. Then he chased everyone down. We'll talk about Lipowitz here in a minute, but he chased down everyone that needed to be chased down, led up the final climb, took it to about almost 500 meters to go. Evenepoel took over at that point. But yeah, really good ride from Almeida, and I think it's good to see him up there because he's such a weapon. And I think if you're Tadej, yeah, you've got someone at that level that can basically neutralize anyone in the peloton. It's great to see him up in these kind of chaotic stages. So last thing, let's talk about Lipowitz and Roglic, Red Bull. Again, I'm going to say it. These guys are not on brand with Red Bull. All the sports that I watch, Red Bull is like the premier sponsor. The riders are the premier athletes. They are fun. They are exciting. They are doing cool things. They are Travis Pastrana jumping out of airplanes. They're doing triple backflips. They're, Jet Lawrence winning, going undefeated for a whole season. And then in cycling, and Red Bull's been so hesitant to get involved with road cycling. And then we have Red Bull in road cycling, and they're just racing like not Red Bull. And so Lipowitz takes this attack. Again, I'm going to call it a TV attack. It was very Vogler-esque. It was between the moment where it was really hard, where you had the climb, and then you had the Jonas, and then you had the Jorgensen attack. And then it was right before, on this flat part, right before the final kick to the line. And Almeida is on the front. Now, I don't know if you saw the Tour of Swiss or any of the races that Almeida won this year. It is clear that when Almeida is on the front, it is not a good time to try and go away, especially when the Almeida, the Tour de Suisse winner and the Basque Country winner and all the other freaking races winner, has the rainbow jersey, the guy that's won all the other races, and then Van der Poel, the guy that's won all the races. Like, just think about this. Think about this moment today. We have, with 1K to go, we have the guy that's won almost all the races pulling for the guy that's won 95% of the races with the guy that's won the other 5% of the races on the wheel. So those three in that part of the peloton literally have won pretty much every race that's existed that has been big and popular on TV. And we know Lipowitz has the television. We know he watches Flanders and all these other races. We know he's familiar with Pogačar, did Dauphiné with him. He knows he's flying. We know he also has a television, and he's seen Almeida win Swiss and all the other races. So again, if you're this team, you just finished third in the Dauphiné, like, why throw a result away? And why not stay in the peloton and then try to follow those other guys? You're not going to stay away from those three riders or those two riders when they're using the best or the second best GC rider pretty much besides Jonas to chase you down. So not a smart move at all. Very television attack. And the irony of the whole thing is it's like Roglic, who we haven't even seen at all ever. This Lipowitz is like the big drama is that he's sacrificing his amazing form to help Roglic. Well, Roglic was at the back of the group doing Roglic stuff. We don't really know what he's doing back there. And so Roglic's at the back, and we got Lipowitz off the front with the best riders in the peloton aiming at him. And the result was they caught him, they dropped him, and then Lipowitz was a deflated life preserver for Roglic, and they both finished like second to last and last pretty much in the group at the finish line. And if someone had let the wheel go in the sprint, they would have lost time. So very off brand from Red Bull. Again, I think someone's got to get in there and say, hey, look, like Red Bull as a brand and this team is about having fun, racing hard, dominating, being a leader in the sport, doing leadership stuff, doing badass stuff. No TV attacks. They should just ban that stuff from this team and say, sorry, if you're attacking, it needs to be an amazing attack. And if your name is Roglic and you are racing GC, then you need to be in the peloton with the folks that are also racing GC. I don't care how many Grand Tours you've won and how many races you've won and how amazing your form is. Like, we need you to put this helmet and everything next to those other guys that are the leaders in this sport. So, because you are too. So anyway, that's my beef with that. I think they can improve their tactics, their strategy, their performances. Hopefully they will. I'd love to see Roglic up there in battle. At one point we called them the big four. Now it's the big three, but it's really like it's the big two with then like another one, and then the Dingleberry kind of fourth place Roglic out there. Who knows what's going to happen, but would love for Roglic to join his homies at the front, get it done, get that Red Bull brand team out there. We want these guys to stay in the sport. We do not want them to be like, you know what? Those 30 years we didn't invest in cycling were smartly allocated. So we want them to continue their investment, grow that team, and keep improving. So that's it. That's what I got for stage 2. I thought it was exciting. More exciting stages on the way. And a lot of chaos, a lot of unpredictable racing that's coming up. So stay tuned. I'm going to continue to do my best with this. Again, I'm in Italy doing a cycling camp for Cinch for my business. And so going to get those rides done in the morning, going to lead my group, do some good coaching out on the road with them, ride some amazing climbs. And then I am going to pop back in, watch the race, and then do my little recap like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next stages. And race is just getting going. It's kind of crazy, the treat that we get. So much action and such great racers packed into this Tour de France. I know I'm excited. And let's watch the rest of the race. Thanks for listening, guys. Later.